The next question here is, aren't these numbers arbitrary? Do we rerun program routes by saying I'm this number? Do we even get the free of the Arabic number system if we get free of the Arabic number system if we think in those terms? The reality is that the interesting part about numbers is that numbers are not something that you have to necessarily be trained or taught. Numbers actually come across as an embedded way of us functioning. So if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, everybody's second digit, like whatever they're saying when they're counting, because counting becomes like something we do early on in the game. Like you have 2 bottles, not 1. You have 5 rocks here. You have 1 mother. So those archetypical numbers are not necessarily programs and intents to things that are going to harm you. They're actually guidelines to how the sequence of the cosmos even moves. So I don't think personally that you would be rerunning any kind of program that would be detrimental to the consciousness, seeing that, of course, even the language that we're using is a program. So if we start going at, again, the things that make up the foundation, things that have been tried true for thousands of years to even how our ancestors are functioning, and then all of a sudden we want to rip that out of the way because of a misconception that may be the evil one, what then happens is we actually rob ourselves from having the ability to come into direct alignment with who we truly are. So it's like if I remove all your cognizance, I remove your language, I remove your numbers, I remove your history, and I remove your past, I remove your presence, I remove all of these different things which can be deemed by one as not being beneficial for them. This is the new trend, right? What are you left with? Right? What are you really left with? You're left with nothing. So I think that what we have to do is we have to figure out how these things are serving us. And that's why they say in that scripture, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Really, in the original text, what this basically means is that there's no way that a weapon can be created against an adept mind, because an adept mind can see everything, even poison, as being useful in some way, shape, or form. And the adept knows how to put that into their mind in the proper place in order to actually benefit from it. So thus, those weapons cannot be used directly as weapons against the adept, because everything has its place. So with this being said, I don't think that we're in a position to be trying to remove something that is the foundation to how our consciousness has functioned throughout the cosmos for a countless period of time, and especially if we don't know the full rigging of it, meaning that most don't know the real connection between the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 9, and how they stand for the archetypes and the flopping, if you may, or the procession of how we come into existence. And also even combinations of numbers bring us back into that same equation. So for the adept, he's not throwing out, or she's not throwing out the numbers, because they actually become the integers of the archetype in which they measure reality as you know it. And because you have to function inside and outside of time, inside and outside of reality, or reality and actuality, you have to function in both of those spaces. You're going to need those metrics. But again, what I will say, though, is that if there's a proper misunderstanding about the numbers, like mainly how that 2 is a product of what happened with 1, 3 is a product of what happened with 2, but basically being able to bridge in between these numbers rather than saying 1 is that by itself, here's 2, that by itself, and now realizing how they connect and how they morph into each other, then you would, of course, then miss the natural progression of what exactly is going on around us in nature. So to remove numbers would then, from our consciousness and what they truly mean, would be to remove natures. And that's why I was saying math is ma'at. And the lowest form, and this again is something that you have to take with this, the lowest form and use of numbers is counting. So to use numbers for things like money, I got $100, I got $1,000, I got 50 likes and 1,000 likes. That's the lowest form that numbers can be used, and actually was always basically it was always, if you had a teacher and a master in the old times, they encouraged you not to use numbers for counting. It was seen to debase the number. They would want you to learn numbers from an archetypical level because that was the highest use. So I trust that makes sense.